Hi, I'm Cautex, and it is Tuesday, which means that Blizzard has just released another build for the Dragonflight Alpha, and while we are still, once again, left waiting for warrior talents, there has been some changes made to warriors, so let's talk about what they are and what they mean. First and foremost, they have removed the crit damage modifier from Rend. Now, this is a very interesting decision from them because when you evaluate whether or not to take Rend, it is really a question of how much value am I going to get from the 30 rage that it costs to put Rend on a target. And previously, at least during Shadowlands, most of the value that you got from using Rend wasn't Rend's damage, it was this critical damage modifier. So with this being removed, it is a much simpler question of, okay, is it worth getting Rend? And this is, of course, assuming that's going to be a talent, which I assume that's going to be, unless they make it baseline, which that'd be weird, honestly, just given how Rend works. The thing is that Rend costs 30 rage, and so really all we need to compare now is that damage going to be more than that of a Mortal Strike? Because Mortal Strike also costs 30 rage, and really what we want to do is the ability that is the most efficient with our rage. So whatever does more damage per rage, that's the ability that we're going to use. And so if Mortal Strike hits harder than Rend does total, we will literally never use Rend. So they're probably going to need to buff Rend a whole lot. At least that would be my guess since they're removing this. I'm very much open to being wrong here, but we're going to have to wait and see. Just like most of this stuff, I'm going to be a broken record. Now, if you saw my last video, we are seeing some of the changes that were talked about in data mines there coming into fore here, right? They have reduced the cooldown on enraged regen. Now, something that is interesting is that they've changed it from specialization to uncategorize. I'm not entirely sure what that means, and they've also done that for recklessness. Now, enraged regen being on a 2-minute cooldown rather than 3, that's great. More survivability is always more better. The interesting thing here is that in my wish list, I asked for them to do something about recklessness to make it a bit stronger. And while they didn't really do that, what they did do is make it last a little longer. And if we're getting Depths of Insanity as a talent again, which from the previous data mining video, you'll know that that appears to be coming back, this is going to be really good. Longer duration of our cooldown is always going to be better. Now, how much impact this 2 seconds is really going to have, I'm not so sure, because that's basically 1 to 2 GCDs worth. Depending on, like, at 100% haste, that's 2 GCDs. So really, it's like 1 extra GCD worth of recklessness. I don't think that this is going to really make that big of a deal, but who knows? They're going to have access to numbers that we don't have, and they're also setting up for implementing the talents, which we, again, have not seen yet. Next, they have implemented the buffs to Onslaught, so they're making it hit 20%, or at least it has 20% of attack power more than it did previously. It was at 131, now it's at 151, and they're making it generate 25 rage. This is a good change. We'll have to see if it's going to be enough to make it worth taking Onslaught, because Onslaught is a talent that they brought in during Shadowlands, and literally no one ever took it, because the ability was just garbage. So we will have to see. And then to counteract these damage buffs, they've also reduced its, increased rather. They've changed the cooldown from 12 seconds to 18 seconds. I don't know. This is kind of weird. It's just one of those ones where we're going to have to see the talents, because we're going to need to see how viable this is in terms of fitting it into our rotation. It seems good. 25 rage is a lot, and with recklessness up, that's 50. 50 rage, like, just on a single GCD, that's pretty huge. So, like, there's definitely a world where we start taking Onslaught, but it just depends on everything surrounding it. It just depends on the context. Siegebreaker gets a buff, hits harder. This is good. I mean, damage buffs are always good. But this is something that we saw was data mined as well, so nothing too surprising here. For the prod changes, it's basically things that we saw in the last data mining video, where they've sort of unified some of the tooltips on demoralizing shout. They've reduced the cooldown on last stand to 2 minutes, and then they buffed shockwave pretty significantly from 8% of attack power to 40%. Then here's the bolster talent that got modified. Again, talked about it in my last video. The real value behind it isn't really the cooldown reduction at this point. It's going to be the fact that shield block is going to last for the entirety of last stand. So we'll have to see how valuable that is. That's going to be a question of just where it's placed in the cooldown thing. Finally, we have 3 spells that have had modifications made that were data mined in the last build but are apparently now implemented, which is that Challenging Shout has had its cooldown reduced from 4 minutes to 2 minutes, which is just going to make it line up with Die by the Sword, so you're going to be able to do some pretty sick Die by the Sword AoE taunts to look like a pro and save your raid. Heroic Throw, I believe the damage got buffed. It doesn't really show what the difference is here, but I'm pretty sure that they increased the percentage of attack power that it deals, and then they changed the cooldown on Ignore Pain from 12 seconds to 1 second, so that way you can just burn through rage to try to stay alive. And, well, that's it. That's it. So, unfortunately, nothing too crazy or exciting. We're still in a holding pattern, just begging, please, Blizzard, please let us be the next ones to get our talents revamped. I want to spend 19 years in front of a talent calculator just gushing over it. Anyway, those are the changes for this week, unless Blizzard implements another build on the alpha, or Wowhead is able to data mine some new stuff, at which point I'll keep you updated. As always, tell me why my opinions are dumb, and lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and subscribe for more.